The warning beacons had been floating in space for 500 years. They circled a yellow star that most species had forgotten about. The beacons sent out the same message in 4 to 7 different dead languages. The message was simple: they sleep. Let them sleep. Your survival depends on their slumber. Nobody really knew who they were anymore. The beacons were old. The languages were dead. Most creatures in the galaxy thought the warnings were just superstitions from ancient times. Victor Thane was the leader of the Galactic Consul. He was a tall reptilian creature with dark green scales and cold amber eyes. Victor did not believe in old warnings or ancient fears. He believed in facts and numbers and expanding his empire across the stars. One day, his mining teams discovered something interesting. There were rare metals in the Forbidden Star system. Very rare. Very valuable. The kind of metals that could make someone incredibly rich and powerful. Victor called a meeting with his council. 12 different species sat around the massive table. They all looked worried when Victor told them his plan. The beacons are just relics, Victor said confidently. Whatever put them there is long gone. We need those resources. I say we send a research team. An old counselor named Beth raised her hand. She was small and grey with large fearful eyes. Sir, those beacons have been there longer than most of our civilizations. Perhaps we should respect the warning. Victor laughed. It was not a kind sound. Respect a warning from ghosts? No. We vote now. The council was afraid of Victor. Most of them voted yes. Only Beth and 2 others voted no. 3 weeks later, the research ship called Prosperity crossed through the beacon line. Captain Helen Morris was in charge. She was a good captain with 20 years of experience. She had explored dozens of systems. This one felt different though. Wrong somehow. Approaching the 3rd planet, her pilot announced. Helen looked at her screens. The planet was beautiful. Blue oceans. Green and brown land. White clouds. It looked perfect for life. But something was strange. I'm not detecting any signals, her communications officer said. No radio. No transmissions. Nothing. Life signs? Helen asked. Negative. The planet appears empty. But it was not empty. As they got closer, they could see cities. Huge cities. But they were covered in plants and trees. Nature had taken over. The buildings were still standing but nobody was living in them. This doesn't make sense, Helen whispered. Where did everyone go? She ordered her team to land near what looked like an important building. It was in a place that their maps said was once called Geneva. The building was massive and covered in vines. Lieutenant James Foster was the first to go inside. He was young and brave and curious. He found terminals that still had power. Ancient computers that were still running after all these years. Captain, you need to see this, James said over the radio. Helen joined him inside. James had found an archive. A database full of information. And a video message that had been waiting for 500 years. Helen pressed play. A woman appeared on the screen. She looked tired and sad. Behind her, other humans were climbing into strange pods. To whoever finds this message, the woman said. We tried to make peace with the galaxy. We really tried. But they would not let us live quietly. They demanded we follow their rules. They wanted to control us. They threatened us. So we made a choice. We decided to sleep. To disappear. To let the universe forget about us. Forget what we can do when we have no other choice. If you are hearing this, you have made a terrible mistake. Turn around. Leave us alone. Go back to your worlds. Because if you wake us up, you will remember why we had to leave. The message ended. Helen stared at the dark screen. Her hands were shaking. Get me Consul Victor. Right now. But outside, things were already happening. The Prosperity had been scanning the planet. Deep scans. Looking for resources and information. Those scans had touched something buried under the ground. Something that had been waiting. Waiting for 500 years. All across the planet Earth, lights began to turn on. Facilities that had been dark for centuries started to hum with power. On the Moon, on Mars, on stations hidden in the asteroid belt, the same thing was happening. The stasis pods began to open. Inside those pods, humans had been sleeping. Preserved perfectly. Waiting. And now the scans had triggered their revival sequence. Admiral Rebecca Grant was the first to open her eyes. She sat up slowly. A computer voice spoke in her mind through neural implants. Welcome back, Admiral. You have been asleep for 503 years. Unauthorized vessels detected in the system. Defensive protocols standing by. Rebecca stood up. Around her, thousands of other pods were opening. Soldiers. Scientists. Engineers. The last defenders of humanity. Status of the intruders. Rebecca asked out loud. 12 research vessels. Origin, Galactic Consul. They have triggered your awakening. Rebecca walked to the window. Outside, she could see Earth. Her Earth. Overgrown and wild but still beautiful. And somewhere up there, aliens were in their space without permission. Wake everyone, Rebecca ordered. All facilities. All personnel. It's time. Humanity was waking up. And the galaxy had no idea what it had just done. Rebecca Grant stood in the command center wearing her old uniform. It still fit perfectly after 500 years. The automated systems had kept their bodies healthy during the long sleep. Around her, screens were lighting up one by one. Every screen showed the same thing. Humans waking up all over the solar system. Dr. Emma Clark rushed into the room. She was the woman who had designed the long sleep protocol. The plan that put humanity into hibernation. Emma looked confused and angry. Tell me this was planned, Emma said. Tell me we set a timer to wake up. Rebecca shook her head. We didn't. Someone woke us up. There are alien ships in our system. Emma's face went pale. They crossed the beacons? After all our warnings. They did. And now they're about to learn why those warnings existed. Captain Thomas Drake arrived next. He was a tall man with scars on his face from old battles. Thomas had been a special operations commander. He had volunteered to sleep last because he wanted to make sure everyone else was safe first. What's our situation? Thomas asked. Rebecca pointed to the main screen. It showed 12 alien research ships floating near Earth. They were scanning everything. Taking samples. Acting like they owned the place. They're in our home without permission, Rebecca said quietly. What should we do? Emma suggested they could go back to sleep. Just ignore the aliens and return to their pods. Wait another 500 years. Maybe the galaxy would leave them alone next time. Thomas disagreed strongly. If we hide now, they'll think we're weak. They'll come back with more ships. More demands. We need to make a statement. Rebecca thought for a moment. She looked at the alien ships on her screen. They looked so confident. So sure of themselves. Send them a message, Rebecca finally said. Keep it simple. Tell them to leave our system. Tell them not to come back. Tell them we want to be left alone. The message was sent through all frequencies. Radio. Laser. Quantum channels. Everything. For 6 hours, there was no response. Then a new transmission came through. But it was not from the research ships. It came from far away. From the Galactic Consul headquarters. Victor Thane's face filled the screen. His reptilian features looked stern and official. Like a king talking to peasants. Humans of Earth, Victor began. The Galactic Consul welcomes you back. However, this star system now falls under our territorial laws. Laws that were established while you were sleeping. You must submit to our authority. You must undergo integration protocols. If you refuse, there will be sanctions. You have 48 hours to comply. The transmission ended. Rebecca, Emma, and Thomas stood in silence for a moment. Sanctions, Thomas said. His voice was flat and cold. He thinks we're primitive, Emma observed. He thinks we just woke up from a long nap and don't know what's happening. Rebecca's jaw tightened. Her eyes became hard. Then we need to educate him. Show him exactly what happens when you threaten humanity. She opened a channel to every human facility in the solar system. Moon bases. Mars colonies. Asteroid stations. Hidden platforms that the aliens did not even know existed. All stations, this is Admiral Grant. Activate defensive grid. Authorization code Omega 7. If they want to enforce their authority, they're going to have to try very hard. Across the solar system, weapons systems began to wake up. They had been sleeping just like the humans. Waiting. Watching. Ready. Captain Helen Morris was still on Earth's surface when she saw the lights. Thousands of lights turning on all around the planet. Defense platforms rising from hidden bunkers. Weapon systems emerging from beneath the oceans. What have we done? Helen whispered to Lieutenant James Foster. James was looking at his scanner. His face was white with fear. Captain, I'm detecting massive power signatures. Hundreds of them. These aren't research facilities. These are military installations. Helen grabbed her radio. Consul Victor, we need to leave. Right now. We made a mistake. A terrible mistake. But Victor did not listen to warnings. He never had. He was already preparing his response. If these humans wanted to be difficult, he would show them what real power looked like. He ordered a peacekeeping fleet to be dispatched. 300 warships. That would be more than enough to make the humans see reason. Back on Earth, Rebecca watched the alien research ships. They were still scanning. Still studying. Still acting like they owned human space. Let them scan, Rebecca said to her officers. Let them see what they want to see. When their warships arrive, we'll show them what they need to see. Thomas smiled. It was not a friendly smile. It's been 500 years since we fought a war. Think we still remember how? Rebecca looked at him. Her eyes were cold and certain. Thomas, we didn't forget. We never forget. That's what makes us human. Emma pulled up tactical displays. The peacekeeping fleet will arrive in about a week. What's the plan? Simple, Rebecca answered. We asked them nicely to leave. They refused. So now we teach the galaxy the same lesson we taught them 500 years ago. You don't threaten humanity. Not in our home. Not anywhere. The command center buzzed with activity. Humans who had been asleep for 5 centuries were remembering who they were. What they were capable of. Why the galaxy had feared them enough to hope they would never wake up. Outside, the warning beacons continued their broadcast. But nobody was listening anymore. It was too late for warnings now. Victor Thane did not like being told no. In his 40 years of leading the Galactic Concilium, every species had eventually bowed to his authority. These humans would be no different. They were just primitives who had been asleep for 5 centuries. Their technology was old. Their numbers were small. They would surrender once they saw real military power. Send the peacekeeping fleet, Victor ordered his military commander. 300 ships should be more than enough. Standard intimidation formation. When they see our strength, they will beg to negotiate. Admiral Marcus Stone received the order with confidence. He was a veteran of 12 compliance operations. He had forced 9 different species to submit to Concilium rule. This mission would be the easiest one yet. Humans who had been sleeping for 500 years could not possibly pose a real threat. The fleet jumped into the Sol system 1 week later. 300 massive warships appeared in perfect formation. They were beautiful and terrifying. Each ship was 3 times larger than anything the humans had built before their sleep. All vessels, proceed to Mars orbit, Marcus commanded. Battle formation. Show them our power. Make them afraid. The fleet moved forward slowly. Deliberately. They wanted the humans to see them coming. To understand how hopeless resistance would be. On Earth, Rebecca Grant watched the alien fleet approach. Her tactical officers were nervous. 300 ships against their 50 small frigates. The numbers looked impossible. Admiral, they outnumber us badly, one officer said. Should we try to negotiate? No, Rebecca said calmly. Let them come closer. Let them feel confident. The alien fleet reached Mars orbit. They formed up in their intimidation pattern. Weapons pointing toward human facilities. A clear threat. They have stopped moving, Marcus's tactical officer reported. The humans are not responding. I think they are too scared to act. Marcus smiled. Good. Fear makes this easier. Open a channel. I will accept their surrender personally. But then something happened that Marcus did not expect. All around his fleet, in the asteroid belt, on moon surfaces, hidden in debris fields, lights began to turn on. Hundreds of them. Defense platforms that had been invisible suddenly became active. Sir, we have multiple contacts, his tactical officer shouted. Hundreds of weapons platforms. They were hiding. We never saw them. Evasive action, Marcus ordered. All ships, defensive positions. But moving was pointless. The platforms did not fire missiles. They did not shoot lasers. They did something much worse. Electronic warfare packages shot out from the platforms. They moved faster than anything Marcus had ever seen. They hit his ships in microseconds. And then the nightmare began. Marcus's flagship, the Triumph, lost control of its weapons first. The targeting systems just stopped responding. Then navigation went offline. Then life support flickered off for 3 seconds before coming back on. It was a warning. A message. We could have killed you. We chose not to. Across the entire fleet, the same thing happened. 300 warships. All of them stopped. Disabled. Helpless. In less than 5 minutes. Marcus sat in his command chair, unable to believe what had just happened. His entire fleet. The pride of the Consilium military. Defeated without a single shot being fired. A transmission came through on every ship's communication system. Admiral Rebecca Grant's face appeared on every screen. Consul Victor Thane, Rebecca said. Her voice was cold and clear. We asked politely. We asked you to leave our system. You sent warships instead. This is your only warning. Leave our system. Do not make us ask again. The transmission ended. One by one, the human platforms returned control to the alien ships. But the weapons system stayed offline. The fleet could move but could not fight. Marcus gave the order immediately. All ships, retreat. Jump to safe distance. Now. The fleet limped away in shame. Victor received the report in his office. He sat in silence for a long time. Then rage filled him. Pure, burning rage. Find me everything about these humans, Victor demanded. Every record. Every file. Every piece of history. I want to know what we are dealing with. His archivists searched for 3 days. What they found in the old databases made their blood run cold. There were fragments from extinct species. References to something called the Human Wars from 800 years ago. Battle reports that made no sense. Accounts of humans turning enemy weapons against their owners. Stories of human ships that fought like they could read minds. One file stood out. It was from the Caltharian Empire. They had been powerful once. Now they were extinct. The file said, we attacked their colonies thinking them weak. They did not destroy our fleets. They captured them. Turned our own ships into weapons against us. We sent assassins. The assassins came back working for humans. We tried to hack their computers. They hacked ours instead and took everything. They do not fight wars like normal species. They fight to win before the battle even starts. Our recommendation, leave them alone. Never provoke them. Never threaten them. They are more dangerous than they appear. The archivist brought the file to Victor personally. His hands were shaking. Sir, perhaps we should reconsider our approach. These humans are not what we thought. Victor stared at the file for a long time. Then he pushed it away. No, Victor said. They are bluffing. Their population is small. Their fleet is old. We have 10,000 worlds behind us. We will assemble the largest armada this galaxy has ever seen. We will show them what happens when you defy the Consilium. The archivist left the office quietly. Outside, he whispered a prayer to gods he did not believe in. The galaxy was about to learn a very hard lesson. Some species should never be woken up. 3,000 warships gathered at the staging point beyond the beacon line. It was the largest military force the Galactic Consilium had ever assembled. 10 different species had contributed their best vessels. Every captain believed they were about to witness history. The day humanity was finally brought to heel. Victor Thane stood on the bridge of the command carrier. He looked at the massive fleet through the viewports and felt pride swell in his chest. This was real power. This was what the humans needed to see. Today we end this problem, Victor announced to all ship captains. Today we show the galaxy that no one defies the Consilium. Today we remind the universe who makes the rules. The fleet jumped into the Sol system in perfect formation. 3,000 ships appearing all at once. It should have been overwhelming. It should have made the humans surrender immediately. Admiral Rebecca Grant stood in her command center and watched them arrive. Her officers looked nervous. The numbers were impossible. 3,000 against 50. They are entering weapons range, her tactical officer said. His voice was shaking slightly. Let them come closer, Rebecca said calmly. Admiral, they outnumber us 60 to 1. We should fall back. Numbers do not win wars, Lieutenant. Strategy wins wars. Let them come. Captain Thomas Drake commanded the human frigate Relentless. It was small compared to the alien warships. His crew was scared. He was not. All human ships, execute pattern whisper, Thomas ordered. The 50 human frigates began to move. They did not charge forward. They did not run away. They danced. They weaved through space in patterns that seemed random but were not. They were testing. Learning. Watching. Every time an alien ship powered up its weapons, the human computers recorded everything. Power signatures. Targeting protocols. Reload times. Weaknesses. Within 10 minutes, the human artificial intelligence systems had complete profiles on every ship type in the enemy fleet. We have full tactical data on all enemy vessels, the tactical officer reported. Rebecca smiled. It was not a kind smile. Captain Drake, you have permission to engage. Show them what happens when humans stop being polite. What happened next would be talked about for generations. The human frigates stopped dancing and started hunting. Electronic warfare packages flew from human ships like invisible arrows. They hit the alien command vessels first. Within seconds, the flagship computers started broadcasting false orders to the rest of the fleet. Alien ships began turning on each other, confused by orders that seemed to come from their own commanders. Formations broke apart. Ships collided trying to avoid phantom threats that did not exist. Human frigates moved through the chaos like sharks through water. Precision strikes disabled weapons without destroying ships. Boarding pods launched and attached to alien hulls before their crews even knew humans were coming. Thomas Drake led a team onto Victor Thane's personal flagship. They encountered no resistance. The human hackers had already locked down every security system on the ship. Doors opened for Thomas. Cameras turned away. Security forces found themselves trapped in their own barracks. Thomas walked onto the command bridge with 5 soldiers. Victor sat in his command chair, frozen in shock. His scales had turned pale gray. Around him, his bridge crew stood with their hands up. Consul Prime Victor Thane, Thomas said formally. You are going to send a message for me. 12 hours later, every Consilium world received the same transmission. Victor sat at his desk, unharmed but clearly beaten. His voice was quiet and empty. The peacekeeping operation has failed. Our armada has been disabled. All personnel are alive and unharmed. Humanity possesses military capabilities far beyond our understanding. They also possess restraint beyond our expectations. This council recommends immediate cessation of all hostile actions. We recommend formal recognition of human sovereignty. We recommend leaving them alone. Behind Victor, barely visible in the frame, stood Admiral Rebecca Grant. She stepped forward and looked directly into the camera. We did not wake up to conquer you. We woke up because you could not leave us alone. We wanted peace. We chose sleep to avoid conflict. You forced us to wake up. You threatened our home. Learn from this. We will defend ourselves. We will defend those who cannot defend themselves. But we do not want war. This is your only warning. Do not test us again. The transmission ended. Across the galaxy, the Consilium fell into chaos. Some species were terrified of what humanity could do. Others were inspired. Several oppressed worlds saw hope for the first time in centuries. Victor Thane resigned 3 days later. He retired to a monastery on his homeworld. He never spoke about what happened in the Sol system. But sometimes, late at night, other monks would hear him whisper the same words over and over. We should have listened to the beacons. We should have let them sleep. The 3,000 warships were returned to their home worlds. Undamaged. Unharmed. But every captain carried the same message back. Humanity was awake. And the galaxy would never be the same again. The warning beacons around Sol system were updated with a new message. Simple words in every living language: humanity is awake. Approach with respect or do not approach at all. The universe had learned its lesson. Some rules exist for very good reasons. And the most important rule had always been simple. Do not wake the humans. 6 months had passed since the battle that changed everything. The Galactic Consilium had broken apart like glass hitting stone. Some species were still afraid of humanity. Others wanted to be friends. Many worlds that had suffered under Consilium rule were now asking humans for help. Admiral Rebecca Grant stood in the restored United Nations building in Geneva. The old structure had been cleaned and repaired. Inside, representatives from Earth's regions had gathered to make an important decision. What would humanity do now? We could go back to sleep, Rebecca said to the assembly. We could wait another 500 years. Hope the galaxy forgets about us again. Dr. Emma Clark stood up from her seat. She shook her head firmly. Isolation did not work the first time. The long sleep was us running away from our problems. If we sleep again, we are just delaying the inevitable. They will wake us again eventually. Captain Thomas Drake added his thoughts. We showed them what we can do. Every oppressed species in the galaxy is looking at us now. Looking for hope. If we disappear now, we abandon them. We prove we only care about ourselves. The assembly talked for hours. Different opinions. Different fears. Different hopes. Finally, they voted. The decision was unanimous. Humanity would stay awake. But they would do things differently this time. Rebecca addressed the galaxy through a transmission sent to every world. Humanity is awake and we are staying awake. We do not seek to rule you. We do not want to control you. But we will not tolerate oppression where we can stop it. We will defend ourselves and our allies. To those who want friendship, you are welcome. To those who want conquest, remember what happened to those who woke us. The response was immediate. Within 3 weeks, 15 species requested defensive pacts with humanity. Within 3 months, that number grew to 23. The old concilium territories reorganized into voluntary federations. No one wanted to be forced into anything anymore. Victor Thane watched these changes from his monastery. He had given up power willingly. Some said he had gone mad. Others said he had finally become wise. He spent his days in meditation, thinking about the mistakes he had made. Admiral Marcus Stone, the officer who had led the first failed peacekeeping fleet, became humanity's main liaison to the new coalition. He had learned his lesson about underestimating Earth. Now he worked to make sure others learned without having to fight. The humans are not what we expected, Marcus told a council of nervous species leaders. They are stronger than us, yes. But they are also more patient. More understanding. They could have destroyed us. They chose not to. That is real power. 5 years after the awakening, Earth had changed dramatically. The cities were alive again. But they were different now. Parks and buildings existed together. Technology and nature in balance. Humans had learned something during their long sleep. They had learned that growth did not mean destroying everything natural. Ships from 100 different worlds filled the sky above Geneva. Trade vessels brought goods. Diplomatic cruisers brought ambassadors. Student exchange ships brought young aliens who wanted to learn from humans and teach humans about their own cultures. Rebecca stood on a balcony overlooking the city. Below, human children played with alien children. A small reptilian child was teaching a human boy a game from his world. A human girl was showing a floating jellyfish creature how to kick a soccer ball. Emma Clark joined Rebecca at the railing. "Do you ever regret it?" Emma asked quietly. Waking up. Rebecca thought about the question for a long moment. She watched the children playing. She saw the ships in the sky. She remembered the battle. The fear. The cost. "We did not want to wake up," Rebecca finally said. "We chose sleep because the galaxy would not let us live in peace. But now that we are awake, maybe we can build something better. Maybe we can create the galaxy we always wanted to live in." A human frigate passed overhead. Small and simple compared to the massive alien trade ships. But everyone in the galaxy knew what it represented. Not conquest. Not domination. Protection. Hope. Safety. Emma smiled. The old galaxy feared us. The new galaxy respects us. That is a better foundation. Respect built on strength is fragile, Rebecca said. But respect built on trust and proven restraint, that lasts. Far beyond Earth, the old warning beacons had been replaced. New beacons now broadcast a different message in every language: humanity sleeps no more. We seek peace but stand ready to defend. Approach with honesty and leave with friendship. Approach with violence and learn why the universe wanted us to stay asleep. On a distant world, a young student asked her teacher about the beacons. "Are humans dangerous?" the child asked. The teacher thought carefully before answering. "Humans are the most dangerous species in the galaxy. But they are also the kindest. They could rule us all. Instead, they choose to protect us. That is what makes them truly special. They have the power to destroy but the wisdom to build instead." The child looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, around a yellow star, humans were awake and watching. The universe had learned its most important lesson. Some species should never be woken up. But if you must wake them, treat them with respect. Because humanity would never sleep again. And that was both a warning and a promise. A promise that the galaxy would be better. Fairer. Safer. Because the humans were finally home.